Yo, 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 yo! What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Hello, Mrs. Weedman. How you doing?
That's new.
I know.
I'm well, Mr. Weedman. How are you?
I'm fucking great. You want to know why I'm great?
Why?
Because we did it.
We did.
We had a great 420.
We did. 2
special guests on. Our 420 episode was a huge success.
Yep.
And then we launched
8decades.com.
Hell yeah.
Spell it out. 8decades.com.
And we had a successful launch party.
It was fun. Yeah.
It was awesome. Thank you, everybody, for coming out, hanging out with us, smoking some really good weed, eating some really good edibles, listening to some phenomenal music. Grit and the Double Nick killed it.
Amazing.
They sung Viper live, the whole band. Oh,
my
boom,
God.
boom, boom.
Everybody
boom,
was crazy
boom,
about the
boom,
music.
Boom, 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 boom. The beer was flowing nicely. Thank you, Brew Island Beer Company, for hosting our party. The food was phenomenal. The Munchie Bar
Was straight up legit.
straight up off the hook.
It was really good.
Off the chains. We came strong.
We put our young stoner nieces to work on that one.
and
they laid it out quite nice.
Yes, they did.
It was great.
Yeah, it was a great party. It was so much fun. Everybody that saw pictures, thank you so much. And everybody that got pictures, please send us some, because Mr. and Mrs. Weedman were working so much that we didn't get a lot of pictures.
Yeah, it's a bummer. We thought I thought, I'm a big picture taker, and I thought for sure I'd have a whole montage of photos from the day. I sent the nieces out and asked them to take photos of the day, and you'd think that they
were busy, though.
They were busy.
They were
we were
busy.
all just so
Yeah.
busy. We got some, but we didn't get a ton. So if you were at the party, if you're listening, hashtag us, mention us, and throw it on some social media so we can see the fun that was had.
Yeah, because we were trying to have fun, but we were also working.
Very busy. It was a great time, though.
Yes, it was great. Everybody got a free steamroller who showed up, too.
Yeah, well, the first 100 people that
First
came,
100 people, yeah.
got a steamroller, and people we had a little pop-up shop for 8 decades there, and people got to check out the pop-up shop. It was just a great day.
Very special.
We intend to do more pop-up shops around the U.S. over time, and maybe we will see some of our listeners around the U.S.
8decades.com. You can find everything on there.
We're still having some search engine hang-up. So if you are just searching the words 8 decades, you may not find us. You have to type in the whole domain. www, spell it out, 8decades.com.
Yeah. We're getting that fixed.
It'll get fixed.
Yes.
We're getting there.
So, yes. So, we also finished last night The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, man.
What
that show is loaded.
Loaded.
It's
loaded
with
Oh, my
stuff.
goodness. So good. If you haven't watched it yet, I
Check it
strongly and highly, highly suggest watch it.
There's going to be more, right?
I hope there's a season 3.
There has to
I don't
be.
know. I haven't looked it up if there was going to be or not.
There has to be.
It's fucking great.
It's fun.
So, you ready to start the show?
Let's do it.
Let's get to it. Is THCP really 30 times stronger than THC, and how much should you take? I've talked about THCP on a prior episode. It's a fairly new cannabinoid discovered about 3-4 months ago over in Italy. But people are using it. So let's talk about it. So if you do decide to use it, you do decide to want to try it, we'll do it. Oh, you know what we forgot?
What?
We forgot to fucking smoke.
Phew. I didn't forget. I'm going to do it right now.
You're going to smoke. We're smoking the Weedman 420 Chronicles experimental strain. I still have about an ounce left of that, and I've been savoring it. And we've been smoking it for the last few nights, and it is phenomenal. So still tasting good, still amazing. And I'm going to hit this. Ms. Weedman going to say something before we go into THCP, because I don't want to do this episode not being stoned.
Yeah, I had to speak on a stage. I am not a person who loves public speaking at all. So I had like a half beer throughout the whole day. It's about all I ever got around to drinking.
I lost 3 beers along the way.
Yeah. And I snagged someone's little vape for a minute and took a couple of hits before I got up on stage, and everything went smooth. It really did the job, knocked out my anxiety, and I don't know how thorough or accurate my speech was, but I spoke.
I think you did
I
great.
did it.
I think
I
you
did
got a big standing ovation, round of applause.
There was standing.
Yeah, people stood
Really?
up for you. Women-owned business. They were pretty impressed.
I couldn't look. I couldn't look at the audience. I'd get too anxious. Yeah.
So let's talk about THCP. or tetrahydroferrol, is one of the popular but limited cannabinoids making waves in the cannabis market at the moment. The cannabinoid is mainly preferred by hemp lovers because of its rich collection of psychoactive derivatives. While obeying federal laws, THCP offers hemp lovers a perfect way to feel the intoxicating effects of weed. THCP was discovered about 3 years ago. The available information on the fascinating cannabinoid is somewhat limited at the moment. Research showed that the compound is at least 20 times more intimidating than delta-9 THC. It has been observed to bind uniquely to the CB1 receptor. Potent psychoactive compounds like THCP offers users a one-of-a-kind experience. However, it is imperative to dose the compound, as you would easily get overwhelmed by it. New users are always advised to start with the lowest amount possible. THCP dosage and THCP strength. Cannabinoid dosage, the strength, are two different features that need to be taken into consideration. Before consuming any THCP products, it is advisable to know your limits. THCP dosage defines the exact amount of the rare cannabinoid a person can ingest at once. It is often measured in milliliters. For instance, a 2 milliliter of THCP tincture, while some measures in the vape puffs, that is 5 puffs off of a vape. Ooh, remember that. THCP strength, on the other hand, specifies the precise milligram strength of cannabinoids in a product. The market offers different brands of hemp product that have been produced by infusing pure tetrahydroferrol extract into the base formula. The exact milligrams of THCP infused into the formula determine how potent each dose of the product can be. THCP dosage chart. Standard. The guide chart is divided into 3. The beginner, THCP for low tolerance, the advanced HHC for high tolerance, and the intermediate HHC dosing for medium tolerance. Users in the first category are recommended to use 1 milligram to 3.1 milligrams per session, while the second uses 5 milligrams to 10 milligrams. Users with the medium tolerance can consume 3 to 5 milligrams per use. The standard dose applies to all products with THCP. Everything from tinctures to cartridges, disposables, and flowers is available. New users ingest very little on the first trial until they get to the point where they start feeling its effects. Dosing instructions. THCP products can be highly or mildly potent when used as a vape or dabs. The user will begin to feel the effects about 20 minutes later. The impacts occur within 1 hour after ingesting THCP tinctures. These products work the same way other cannabinoids like THC and CBD do, which is why it's the best to always use patience after each dose before taking another. Patience is a virtue, ladies and gentlemen out there in the world. Something I had to learn. and it took me till I was in my 40s to learn patience. Right, Mrs. Weedman? Mm-hmm. There are instances where the users felt the need to use more THCP because the effects had not fully registered yet. Experienced THCP users recommend a 2-hour break between each session. Different brands produce THCP products, and each brand has a recommended dosage usage for users to follow. Check the product packaging and label to find the dosage chart for each product. With this chart, you can tell how much THCP you'd be able to consume in a session. It's always best to follow instructions of each brand to reduce the risk of being overwhelmed. How to determine the right amount of THCP. Tolerance levels differ among users. As we all know, with just delta-9 THC too. Not every new user can handle up to 1 milligram. Remember what I always say, start low and go slow. And not all regular users can handle more than 1 milligram. Several factors influence how many cannabinoids a person can consume in order to have a satisfying experience. I've always said I wanted all of them. I want all of them at once, just to see what it's like. Before you consider only the dosing guidelines, here are some other factors you need to understand. Tolerance levels. THCP is a powerful cannabinoid that intoxicates even the most tolerant user. You can use your tolerance to regular THC products to determine the appropriate dose of THCP you can handle. If you have never tried out other existing forms of THC, then it's best for you to start with maybe a Delta 8 or a Delta 10 THC. This will help build a little bit of reasonable level of tolerance. Starting off with THCP can be overwhelming, even if you are a regular user of other cannabinoids. It is all best to start slow with the newer product. As mentioned earlier, its effects are much stronger than regular cannabinoids. Delivery method. Like all cannabis or hemp-derived products, THCP can be consumed in different ways, either as a sublingual, inhalable, ingestible product. Whichever method you use, it determines how fast the THCP compounds will be broken down and absorbed into the body. THC vapes offer the highest potency effects, and the compounds are immediately bioavailable. The tinctures, however, are milder effects, hence vapes have longer dosage recommendations than tinctures. The strain type. THC products come in different strains. I didn't know that until I read this article. Each strain has its own unique cannabinoid and terpene profile. It is always advisable to stick to one strain of THCP. Always try to research the synergistic effects of several strains before purchasing them. THCP dosage recommendations. The dosing recommendations for THCP depends on the type of product and delivery method. For vape cartridges, 1 puff would give a threshold effect, while 3 or more puffs would translate into more psychoactive effects. Disposable vapes also work in the same ways as vape cartridges. THCP delivered through both mediums is highly bioavailable. In contrast, THCP tinctures are more accessible to dose. They are sold with dropper cases. 1/4 of a dropper delivers a threshold dose, while half of a more delivers a more psychoactive impact. Other products like gummies and dabs have dosing guidelines on their packaging. The bottom line, THCP is an exciting cannabinoid for researchers to work with and for hemp lovers to dose on. Its potential to deliver highly psychoactive effects is enough reason for the user to be extra cautious when using the products. Consuming too much or too little will leave the user over-intoxicated or unsatisfied. The best option to experience THCP bliss is to find your comfortable limit and work with that. There are several THCP brands to select from. Look up various brands and their reviews before deciding your preferred product. And make sure you're getting it from a reputable source, please. Don't buy it from somebody you don't know, because then you can fuck yourself up. So I have not tried THCP. I've been highly interested in it since I read it the first time. And like I said 3 months. I'm sorry, I meant 3 years. But I just read an article a while back ago about Italy doing research on it. So, which was 3 months ago. So, got a little confused. So, I am.
You're stoned.
Yeah. So that Weedman 420 Chronicles experimental strain is just still so lovely. I got some seeds of that. Can't wait to grow more. What is your favorite way to smoke cannabis?
I love a good joint.
You love a good joint.
I do.
You tried to practice rolling a joint.
Yeah.
We're going to post a video of that. You all have to see it.
I really tried.
You did. You tried hard.
I don't know what I'm doing.
We're going to practice.
I got to watch a video of someone.
You're going to watch Mrs. Weedman's process in learning how to roll a joint. So we're going to produce a video of this every couple of days. And Mrs. Weedman didn't watch any videos on how to. She just went and tried with some basil, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And tried. And it was hilarious. And the video is pretty funny. But I'm going to have her watch some videos, and then Mrs. Weedman's going to learn how to roll a fucking doink from Mr. Weedman. And we're
Mr. Weedman, you should join me, because you're not so good yourself.
I never said I was. Everyone knows in the world I can't roll a fucking joint.
I know, so let's try.
But I stuffed 50 fucking joints for the party, and I stuffed a mighty fine joint.
Pre-roll, like
I stuffed them.
yeah.
I didn't roll. I stuff a good joint.
Yeah, so is it really? I think you should. It's an art. I got to learn it.
I stuffed 50 joints.
No. I'm saying it's an art to roll a joint. I really want to learn.
True form. So what I want you to do is learn, and we're going to record you learning, and then you're going to teach me, and you're going to record me.
Whoa.
Learning how to roll a joint.
Okay.
Sound good?
Deal.
So what is this joint thing all about?
Yeah. Well, I have an article that is about how to smoke a joint, a beginner's guide. With more states legalizing the use of recreational cannabis, there are now more cannabis users than ever before. Recent statistics show that there are 48 million users in America alone. One type of cannabis roll that's popular among weed users is the joint. Some also prefer to smoke a blunt or a spliff. A blunt is, Mr. Weedman? What's the difference?
A blunt is a cigar wrap, some kind of form of a cigar wrap.
And then a spliff is half tobacco, half...
Yeah, and that could be rolled in just in regular joint papers.
Okay.
So.
Right. We'll focus exclusively on joints, though. So here's 4 top tips on how to smoke a joint so you get the best experience. Number 1, start small. When you smoke a joint, it's always better to start small and smoke less than to smoke too much and have a bad time. Just like with edibles, right? If you're new to smoking, we recommend taking 1 or 2 hits from a joint and waiting at least 30 minutes before taking more. Keep in mind that how much you smoke will affect how long the high lasts. If you smoke a lot, the high will last for a longer period of time. And so I'm going to jump in on that start small. I love joints for that reason alone. Or smoking, I guess, any type of smoking. But a joint you can control, just like the steamroller. You have so much control over how large or small of a hit you take, and that is great because you can it's almost like you could microdose if you smoke. Right?
Yeah.
And you could just manage how much you take in. So you could take this little tiny hit and then in an hour take another tiny little hit, just like if you took a 2.5 milligram edible. So start small. And you're going to know in 15 to 30 minutes how high you feel.
You'll
know.
15 minutes is like when you start really feeling it. I mean,
And when you get started and you have just that one hit and you wait 30 minutes, you're going to know if you like how you feel or if you maybe want to feel a little bit more. I say ride it out. Wait an hour, take one little hit, ride it out for an hour, see how you feel, and then kind of pace yourself up from there.
Yeah, learn the experience of it all. Like, just don't rip 3 or 4 fucking hits off a joint, and all of a sudden you're hating yourself.
Right.
Like, I'm dying. I'm going to the hospital. I'm having a panic attack.
You got to learn what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, 2, choose the right strain. The type of weed you smoke will have an effect on how long the high lasts. For example, indica strains typically produce a more mellow high that is perfect for relaxing at home. On the other hand, sativa strains tend to provide a more uplifting and energetic high that is great for social situations. 3, use a filter. If you're smoking a joint, it's important to use a filter. Filters help to remove some of the tar and other harmful chemicals from the smoke. Not only will this make the joint less harsh on your throat, but it will also make the high last longer. There are a variety of filters that you can use. Be sure to experiment and find the filter that works best for you. 4, don't hold your breath. Holding your breath only makes the smoke harsher on your throat and lungs. Instead, take small drags and exhale slowly. This will help you enjoy the experience more and avoid coughing fits. There are many different ways to consume cannabis. Of them, smoking and vaping aren't the most healthy. So this is a little side note. According to the American Lung Association, cannabis smoke inhalation and even secondhand cannabis smoke inhalation can cause damage to the lungs and lead to chronic cough, acute bronchitis, and other respiratory disorders. To avoid lung damage, also consider other forms of cannabis consumption. All right. Public service announcement is over. Back to smoking a joint. Knowing how to smoke a joint is the first step toward enjoying your weed. The good news is that anyone can master this process if they set their hearts on it. Just remember to relax and take it slow. Before you know it, you'll be a pro. Wow, I'm like a poet.
Didn't know it.
Yeah, yeah. So I think smoking a joint is really fun.
I love smoking joints. And it was so great being able to smoke with Metro and Mr. G.
That was fun.
Because we hadn't smoked joints with somebody in a while.
Yep.
So it was great. Like passing the joint around at a basement sesh is amazing. That's a good beer.
That's a good beer.
Blue Island Beer Company. Making a mighty fine beer.
Yummy.
Yep. It's that their Pilsner, the Zap.
It's called Zap.
Zap. Did he zap zap?
Zappity
Thanks,
zap.
Alan, again. Appreciate you, man. Cannabis Genetics 101. What do we know about the cannabis plant's genetics since we can't legally study it? Kind of interesting, huh? Mm-hmm. This is an older article. This is part of that 3-part article that I was telling everyone about. So from the cannabis plant's roots to its leaves, to its levels of THC and CBD, and even to its terpenes and flavonoid content, all relate to the genetic code. And although we've come a long way in terms of discovering the many different ways the cannabis can heal and enhance the health of humans, understanding the complexities of cannabis genetics is decidedly tougher nut to crack. But that's not to say this article hasn't tried. What we know, like humans, cannabis has a diploid genome that in the plant has 2 sex chromosomes. Do you realize that there is a male and a female plant? Mm-hmm. However, unlike humans that have 46 chromosomes, cannabis has 20. Each plant cell nucleus has 9 autosomes and a pair of sex chromosomes, X and Y, male and female, like humans. While fascinating, the fact actually makes it harder for breeders to create consistent strains. Tell me about it. In fact, most seed breeders don't even attempt. Creating a stable genetic like AKA a hybrid is enough for most. Those hybrids make up a large number of popular strains and are on the market and grown today. In addition, the idea that there are different species of cannabis has been heavily contested. Today, most scientists agree that all forms of cannabis belong to the Cannabis sativa L species. A good way of looking at it is by looking at ourselves. All living humans are part of one species, Homo sapiens. However, even though we are from the same species, the genetic variations are seemingly endless. Just as environment and a range of different factors contribute to the different ways humans look and act, the same can be said for the cannabis plant. But we may be getting closer to understanding this wondrous plant genetic map. In 2018, a group of scientists from leading genetic institutions in the U.S., including the universities of Harvard and Minnesota, the Craig Ventura Institute and Sunrise Genetics, Inc., published a paper in BioRixia and shed the light on the ancestral links between different cannabis cultivars. It revealed that high CBD plants were created when hemp-like and cannabis-type cannabis cultivars were hybridized. The map was made up of almost 25,000 genes found in 10 chromosomes. From 3 different cultivars, a high CBDA strain, a high THCA strain, and hemp. The study provided valuable information for growers, breeders that may help them develop bespoke varieties of cannabis. CEO of Sunrise Genetics, C.J. Swartz, told Marijuana Venture that the findings will allow research to coordinate data for finding important genes that demonstrate specific traits. He went on to say, the impact of the community and sophistication of cannabis research and development will be substantially changed, bringing the cannabis to the same level as other economical lucrative crops. And don't forget, cannabis is in the top 5 now of crops across the United States. So that's huge, and the world. So, where are we at? This will help cannabis breeding evolve into a more tailored and scientific process, allowing breeders to single out specific traits and develop them as strains with higher levels of favored cannabinoids, whether THC or CBD. The world of cannabis genetics is incredibly complex, but one way of getting a grip on it is by understanding the language used to describe different breeding methods and the terms used to describe varieties. Here's a crash course, and we've talked about a lot of these before, but I'm going to give you the crash course and some definitions. A phenotype. This pertains to the observable characteristics of the cannabis plant, such as its height, shape, appearance, and aroma, etc. Genotype. This pertains to the set of genes in the cannabis plant. Landrace. These are varieties that originated from places where cannabis grow wildly and has been for centuries or longer. Examples of some of these from the banks of Yakatis River in China, valleys of the Himalayan and Hindu Kush. Oh, give me the Kush. Mountain ranges and Taklamakan Desert in Central Asia. Heirloom. Unlike landrace, heirlooms do not grow in the wild. These are varieties that have been planted and harvested in crops by humans for generations. An F1. First generation hybrid. We've talked about F1s before and F2s before and stuff like that. The result of breeding 2 completely different genetic strains. IBL, inbred line. The result of generations of hybridizing a specific lineage, producing a different family of strains. Examples, IBL include Northern Lights, Maui Wowie, and Blueberry. Oh, I love Blueberry. Polyhybrids. These are the result of breeding completely different hybrids with one another. Back crosses. This entails a hybrid strain and breeding in back with the original parent. Selfing, when a mother plant is pollinated by herself. Special chemicals are used on a female plant to create stress, which results in the plant producing male flowers. The male flowers are then used to breed with the original mother plant. This is done to feminize strains and preserve the strain's genetics. So the conclusion. While this article only scratches the surface of the complicated world of cannabis genetics, with the prohibition continuing to be repealed in the U.S. around the world and more research, like this study published in 2018 being done, we'll undoubtedly continue to see more studies and will provide crucial insight into fully understanding this life-saving plant. And why? Because there's angel in those leaves.
I remember that the Weedman strain makes you really mellow.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. I can just feel your energy just going.
I'm trying to give it all, but I'm so mellow. But that's why I love that strain, though.
Yeah.
We needed it after we.
But I remember the last time we smoked it after the show, I was like, okay, we can't smoke that for the show. We get way too quiet.
It was already ground.
It's good,
and I love it.
but it's like our good evening smoke.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So we'll work on staying loud tonight.
I'm good. Leafly came out with a really good article, and I don't read a ton from them, but this one was actually really good, and I'm going to let Mrs. Weedman tell you about it.
Yeah, we have an edible dosing article. So I'm definitely going to put the link to this article on this week's podcast notes so that you can look at the actual chart. But this is edible dosing and how strong is your weed edible. Edible forms of cannabis, including gummies, mints, brownies, cookies, drinks, and other food products, are discreet and can produce long-lasting and safe effects. They're great when consumed responsibly and when you know how much you're consuming. But edibles can lead you to trouble if you're not careful. It's hard to gauge their potency, and we've all known someone, possibly ourselves, who have eaten too many edibles and have had a bad evening. Eating too many edibles isn't going to hurt your body, but unwanted or unpleasant effects from edibles can be avoided if you know the dose of the product and what dose of edible works for you. So let's talk about other factors that play into how edibles can affect you. So again, look at the chart online. So it's going to give you some good pointers. But finding your ideal edible dose. How many milligrams of edibles should you take? It's important to note that each individual has an ideal dose best suited for them and their body. The strength of an edible depends on many factors, including the type of edible, dosage, tolerance, body weight, and metabolism. Two individuals may respond very differently to the same type of edible with the same dose. One may get very stoned, and one may not get stoned at all, depending on the above factors. Always start with a small dose of edibles and gradually increase until you find your ideal dose.
It's been a lot about small doses today. Low dose.
Low dose.
It's calling.
Low and slow. How many milligrams of THC should you eat to get high? Here are some basic guidelines to help you find the right dose measured in milligrams. A 1 to 2.5 milligram THC edible. We also refer to that as microdosing, right? The effects are going to be mild relief of symptoms like pain, stress, and anxiety, increased focus and creativity. Who is it for? First-time consumers or regular consumers looking to microdose. So what is microdosing? That's just taking a small dose throughout the day, like a maintenance dose. So it's not going to make you feel head high or be, inebriated. It's just going to knock the edge off a little bit for you. A 5 milligram THC edible. The effects are stronger relief of pain and anxiety symptoms, euphoria, and it may impair coordination and alter perception. Who it's for? Standard recreational users. Persistent symptoms not addressed by small doses, or people looking for a good night's sleep. 5 milligrams. 10 milligrams of THC in an edible. The effects are strong euphoric effects, significantly impaired coordination and perception. Who is it for? High tolerance THC consumers, both recreational and medical patients. Unaccustomed consumers may experience negative effects.
We're tenors now.
We're
you
10,
are.
yeah.
I've been a tenor for a while, but
I'm a tenor.
You could tell a big difference from a 5 and a 10.
Yes.
All day.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I can take a 2.5. I could do a microdose and not really even know that I took it.
Right.
I might have like a moment within that period where I'm like, oh yeah, I took an edible. Like there can just be a little bleep of a
Right.
moment where I might feel something differently or something, and I know that it reminds me that I took an edible. But otherwise, it's insignificant.
Yeah.
5 milligrams.
You feel it?
A little bit.
You feel it?
A little bit.
Y-
But
you're
10,
not like
yeah.
you're not like. For me, that 5 milligrams like a microdose.
Right.
Like really, I mean, I feel it, but it's not like wow. Like I feel like my mood is uplifting, and I feel like
But 10 is like
10
nice.
is like whew,
That's my sweet spot.
I'm a tenor.
Yeah.
Tenor.
Yeah. And then 20. So for perspective, Mr. Weedman's been smoking and consuming for a long time. We're not wake and bakers. We really just consume in the evening. Maybe on a weekend we would consume during the day or a day off of work. But if we're doing work stuff, we're usually just evening consumers. So we kind of cap out with an edible at 10 milligrams. I mean, if we were maybe out at a show or a concert, I might take a 15. I don't know about a 20. I might take a 10 and then in like a couple hours take another 10.
Yeah, that's what we've done.
Like that. Okay, so but someone who does want a 20
But
milligram.
see, here's the thing, though.
What?
We take an edible every night, but we
Yes.
also smoke every night. So, I mean, we're smoking a whole bowl.
We time it.
Yes.
So I take an edible when I'm done working, but it's a couple hours before I'm going to go to bed. And then within that couple hour period, Mr. Weedman and I then smoke. So the edible hasn't really kicked in yet. We smoke, and then by the time the smoke wears off, the edible has kicked in, and then it's nighty-night. It's pretty good. It's a
Sweet
good little
princess.
deal we got going.
Yes. Very good deal.
Yeah. But back to the article. 20 milligram edibles, 20 milligram THC edibles. The effects are very strong euphoria, likely to impair coordination and alter perception. Who is it for? consumers with significant THC tolerances. So this is someone who is really maybe like we're daily smokers, but we're not all day smokers. So someone who's kind of like the next level up from us could tolerate a 20 milligram THC edible in one dose. And also patients with decreased GI absorption issues. A 51 to 100 milligram THC edible. Ooh. I've never consumed that much.
I know some people that can.
I know some people, yeah. Woo. And it's like no big deal. The effects are seriously impaired coordination and perception, but not, there's people that can just pop a 50 milligram and you would not even know, right? Because your tolerance builds. Anyway, possible unpleasant side effects include nausea, pain, and increased heart rate. So a moderate to hardly smoker who would consume a 50 or 100 milligram edible is the person who thinks they're dying and ends up in the emergency room because they don't understand what they're feeling. They think their heart has stopped. They think they can't breathe. They're paranoid. They think everybody's laughing. Like stay away from that. Don't be a big shot. Like this isn't the place to be a big shot. Yeah. It's kind of like taking 10 shots of like Fireball. Like, it's not going to be a pretty end. Right? So this is for the serious consumer. Work your way up to it. If you want to get there someday, you can do it. Make it a goal.
I don't even want to get there.
I know, but there might be someone who just wants to achieve that. And that's cool. Who is that for? An experienced, high-tolerance THC consumer or patients living with cancer, inflammatory disorders, or conditions that necessitate high doses. There's a lot of high THC consumption in patients with cancer with chemo. So it helps with the nausea, too. Consuming more than 100 milligrams of weed edibles and extremely high doses, such as 150 or 200 milligrams or even 500 milligrams, greatly increases the risk of negative effects, such as nausea, paranoia, and that can even happen for consumers with very high tolerances. So, how much of an edible should you take your first time? If you've never taken edibles before, we recommend taking a 2.5 milligram edible to start. 5 milligrams is considered one dose. So 2.5 milligrams is a half dose. So if you're talking about dispensary product, most dispensaries are dosing their edible goods at 5 milligrams. Here are some tips.
Unless you're in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Then, 2,500 milligrams.
Yeah, or 100 milligram caramel, right? Here are some tips for taking edibles the first time. Edibles in dispensaries often come in 5 milligram or 10 milligram doses, so it's good to buy gummies or other types of edibles that can be cut up easily to make smaller doses. When buying edibles, make sure your dosage is clearly labeled for each edible so you know how they're dosed. Start low, go slow. Wait at least 1 hour after taking your edible, and if you don't feel anything or if you want stronger effects after 1 hour, just do a small knockout, like another 2.5 milligram dose. Remember, if you take more edibles before waiting for the initial dose to kick in, both doses could kick in at the same time, and then you could potentially feel too high. The length of an edible high depends on the dose of the edible taken, as well as your tolerance, your metabolism, and your body chemistry. For a moderate consumer, an average 5 milligram edible will typically last 2 to 3 hours. If you have a high tolerance or fast metabolism, your high might wear off quicker. For someone with a low tolerance or slow metabolism, that 5 milligram edible might last longer. When taking edibles, it's important to note how much you take to get a sense of how strong that dose is for you and how long it will last. This will help you determine your ideal dose. Adding CBD to THC can enhance the medicinal benefits of edibles, while decreasing the adverse effects, such as impairment and an elevated heart rate. CBD particularly blocks the intoxicating effects of THC in the body, giving consumers medical benefits of cannabis without as much impairment. Balanced edibles, or those with a CBD to THC ratio of 1:1, will produce less impairment than edibles with just THC, and they are more therapeutic. For example, a person who feels moderately stoned or impaired after taking 5 milligrams of THC will feel less or no impairment when taking 5 milligrams of THC with 20 milligrams of CBD. As the amount of CBD in an edible increases, the likelihood of unwanted intoxicating effects goes down. Edibles usually come in CBD to THC ratios of 2:1, 5:1, 10:1, or 20 to 1. There's even more. However, consuming excessive amounts of edibles with THC, no matter how much CBD, can still produce unpleasant effects. So, what do you look for on a label for an edible? The standard dose for an edible is considered to be 5 milligrams. When buying from a licensed cannabis store or dispensary, edibles typically come in 5 milligram or 1 dose pieces, or 10 milligram 2 dose pieces. Doses of 2.5 milligrams are considered a half dose, and 20 milligrams are considered 4 doses. So again, look at your package. It should tell you, if it doesn't tell you milligrams per piece, it'll tell you how many pieces and then total THC milligrams. And then you have to just do the division. Some novelty edible products like potato chips, beef jerky, or drinks can be tricky. Make sure the label clearly spells out if the entire package is 1 dose and how to measure a dose out if it's not. I hardly ever see low dose drinks or food items. They're usually, you are just having a small bite of whatever, or a sip of whatever it is. You're not drinking a whole can or bottle. When buying a package of multiple edibles, THC content is often listed for the entire package. For example, a box of 10 weed gummies might say 100 milligrams, meaning each gummy is 10 milligrams. If the dose of an individual edible is too large, cut it up or eat less. Can you overdose on edibles? No one has ever reportedly died from consuming too much cannabis, but eating too many edibles can lead to an unpleasant experience. Most people do not need emergency medical care unless they have a pre-existing heart disease or other serious medical condition. But when consuming cannabis in any form, remember the motto: start low and go slow.
I love us some edibles.
Yeah.
But be careful out there.
It's a lesson.
I've seen some people get fucked up on. I did a couple times. 2 tree.
Yeah. Just all of cannabis. I mean, just if you don't have to overthink it. Maybe I overthink it too much, but I just feel like there's so much to it. You know, like learning about wine or learning about good beer, learning about good bourbon, whatever. There's information, there's data, and there's facts behind it. And just slamming and going into it like knee deep on your first try.
Nowadays you can't. Can't
dispensary
nowadays.
weed is too strong. You're not going to have a good
even
experience.
Even homegrown weed is strong as fuck.
Right. I just think you're going to have
Different
a much
game.
more pleasant experience.
The weed, if you're just getting back into weed and you might have smoked it 20 years ago, 30 years
not
ago.
the same.
It is not the fucking same. I had somebody talking to us at the launch party. Goes, I hadn't smoked weed since high school. I'm like, and he's like 5 years older than me. I'm like, dude,
it's not
it's like
it's
it is
not the
not
same.
is not the weed you smoked back in the 80s. So just if you want to smoke with me, I'll take you through the steps. Let me know if you ever want again. So I gave him an edible. He goes, what do I do? Eat the whole thing? I'm like, no. Start with like a bite. Mm-hmm. And start from there. Wait about an hour. See how you feel. If you don't feel it, take another bite. And then wait another hour. See how you feel. You might not feel anything because you're really microdosing, which is good for your first time. Don't overthink it. It's cannabis. It's like Mrs.
But at the same time, think. I'm an overthinker. Mr. Weedman's like, let's just go do it. Maybe there's a happy medium.
There is a happy
Learn
medium.
a little bit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But don't
Ask your bud tenders.
overthink it to where you're like
You're afraid of it.
You're afraid of it is
Yeah.
what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Think about it. Experiment. Explore. Ask questions. You
But
know,
really
read.
Start with a little bit.
Yes.
And build your tolerance and build your understanding.
Yes.
Is really what it's about.
100%.
And you got to wake up your endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
Because then everything really works.
Boom, the old engines that you have to like crank to
You
start.
wind 'em up.
Yeah. I'm not that old. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear announced that in light of Senate refusing to take up House-passed medical cannabis bill, he's forming a panel to officially study the issue while he considers a possible executive order on patient access. New Jersey governor celebrated that they finally got to sell recreational cannabis on 421. He's super stoked. Good for him. The place I was born. Wisconsin Senate and Licensing and Forestry Committee held a 420 hearing on limited medical cannabis bill. And I read an article. Someone actually sent it to me, and I saw it too. I read some of the bill. It looks promising. Hopefully one day they pass it. Alaska, House passed bill to seal prior cannabis convictions. Good for you, Governor Mike Dunleavy. Colorado Governor Jared Polis tweeted the Safe Banking Act as an immediate solution to get cash off our streets to ensure state legal legitimate business can operate like other types of businesses. The Minnesota Republican gubernatorial candidate Paul Gazetka, currently a state senator, tweeted, legalizing cannabis should be the priority for Minnesota's governor when inflation has stripped all the families in the state. Let's see, some other good stuff. I read this article that seasoned weed smokers are claiming that cannabis market in Massachusetts sells subpar weed at premium prices. Ooh, not happy with that shitty weed, I guess, huh? Cannabis industry will add nearly $100 billion to the U.S. economy in 2022. That's like overall everything. That's not just dispensaries selling weed. It's everything. That's a lot of fucking money. That ain't no joke. I said there's money in it for everybody. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Several states still in play to legalize cannabis through legislature in 2022. Expected, they're saying Rhode Island and South Carolina for medical for South Carolina. That's big. Big. If South Carolina goes before North Carolina, jeez, I'm moving there first. Possible. Delaware, North Carolina, Kansas. And I just read an article today. Kansas is possibly maybe move it over to the expected, which is pretty cool. Worth watching, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania. All to go recreational. That's in 2022. That's good stuff. Limited Wisconsin medical cannabis bill gets 420 Senate hearing. I read that just a few minutes ago, but this was like a whole article on Marijuana Moment for all you Wisconsin folks up there that you want to read about it. We'll post this one too for you. And I want to thank someone came 4 hours away from Wisconsin to our launch party. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And I told him I'd give him a shout out. So I think his Insta handle is Reaper. He was the one that drove with his buddy like 4 hours away, like in between Green Bay and Milwaukee. He lived.
Yeah,
That's
we had
crazy.
some people come from
Ohio,
southern
Indiana, Wisconsin, southern Illinois.
Not quite southern Illinois, but south of Chicago.
South. Street or south.
That's south.
2 hours down. That's southern Illinois, somewhat, or let's say central Illinois.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, shout out to everyone that came out from all around. Rochelle, Illinois, our friends out there too. And we had people come from like all over. It was pretty sweet. So Wisconsin, though, I hope you pass it only because we love going up there. So Florida officials invite students grades 4 through 12 to invent new uses for hemp as part of an essay contest. That's pretty cool. New York City Mayor Adams wants cannabis to grow on New York housing rooftops, but the state's fighting it, or the city's fighting it, which I think is weird. Why wouldn't you want to let people grow on their roofs? Great. Those roofs are so fucking hot. Black tops. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. I mean, there's not a lot of trees in New York City. Not a ton. Imagine like all the rooftops are growing plants and cannabis plants. Cool. Oh, my God. It'd be amazing. The smell would be awesome. Here's something really cool. Arizona collected more tax revenue from cannabis than alcohol and tobacco combined in March, data shows. Wow. That's big. Arizona just fucking killing it. I also read another article, too, that what was I just saying? I'm stoned. Arizona did, like, unbelievable fucking numbers, like crazy numbers in sales in March, too. I mean, not just the tax revenue. It was, like, unheard of. They're going to be, like, over $1 billion this year. That's insane.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for this story?
I don't know.
The Chicago pot cartel.
Wait, start that over. What?
Start over.
Yeah.
The Chicago pot cartel.
Oh.
Pritzker, Wrigley, the families alleged in suit. The legal cannabis business in Illinois is being controlled by a state-protected Chicago cartel. I've been saying that forever. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the machine. If you didn't know this was going to fucking happen, all of you guys fooled yourselves. Okay? Because if you lived here as long as I have, or grew up here, then you know.
You know.
Okay? Come on. I mean, get the fuck out of here if you really thought this was going to be a fair game here in Illinois. Mike Madigan just got fucking popped for robbing this state for fucking how many years you guys voted
Forever.
him in. And he got popped. So you got wealthy Pritzker, Wrigley, the Culver families, according to a lawsuit filed by a group called True Social Equity in Cannabis. Cannabis companies are Agrana Corp, Green Thumb Industries, Verano Holdings, and Sutera Holdings have successfully monopolized the Illinois branded cannabis market from cultivation to manufacturing to retail dispensaries, the plaintiff said in a complaint filed in Chicago federal court. I'm not a big corporate cannabis guy. It's fine, but those companies, I mean, yes, a lot of them control the industry here in Illinois. We all know it. We've read it. But they also spent the money to do it, too. And they bought licenses from people that sold it to them. And they might have made $20 million off being sold or $5 million off of being sold because they didn't want to deal with the retail. But they got a license. They sold it, made some money. They're out. I don't know. I know there's 185 licenses in litigation right now that's still being held up. We all know what the fuck's going on. So I'm just saying it's kind of, we're all being foolish that didn't think this was going to happen in the state is what I'm trying to get at here. The companies collude to control prices, with a pound of branded cannabis in Illinois going for about $4,000 compared to $300 in a competitive market like California. All right, relax. California is like, there's so much weed in California. In Illinois, there's only 20 growers, 25 growers in Illinois. Those craft growers haven't even started yet. Of course it's going to go for $4,000 a pound. I mean, there's limited. So I dealt with this in the 90s where price of a pound of hydro was $4,000 to $5,000. And this, I mean, I know it was hard to get, but still in Illinois, because we can't cross straight lines with weed, the competition there's not a lot. There's the ones that hold it in the palm of their hand. Okay, I get it. It sucks. Learn to grow your own. According to a true suit by True Social Equity in Cannabis, which consists of pot consumers, workers, and entrepreneurs, the companies didn't immediately respond to emails or phone calls seeking comment. Jordan Duye, a spokesperson for Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, didn't immediately respond to an email and voicemail seeking comment. Litigation over who gets access to the newly legalizing businesses of recreational cannabis have been on the rise as states try to favor minorities and small business owners by setting aside some licenses for them. But big multi-state operators have advantages of size and scale. Illinois licensing processes has already been fraught with litigation over social equity and issues. This case by True Social Equity in Cannabis, U.S. District Court, Northern District of Illinois. So, yeah, there's been a bunch of articles about this, and it's very interesting, highly, highly interesting. And I tell you what, but we've been talking about this for a while, and like I said, if you all thought this was going to be a straight up game here in Illinois, you fooled yourselves, and they fooled you. Okay? So, as we always speak about freeing the plant, it's more important than ever to free the plant. Everybody can make money on this. Everybody should be allowed to grow it and sell it with a legal license. And, you know, I tell you right now, some people growing it at home probably grow better weed that you're getting from a cultivator here in Illinois. No doubt about it. So, we were decent parents, weren't we?
I'd like to think so.
I think we were good parents. We raised two good kids,
we did
right?
All right. I think we did all right.
And you're a phenomenal partner to me.
Oh,
thanks.
Are you getting mushy now?
No.
Okay.
Later.
All right.
I'll get mushy. I'll cry later on your shoulder. But you think cannabis can make you a better parent and partner?
Well, I've got an article about how cannabis can make you a better parent and partner. Many people have found that cannabis is a safe and healthy way to cope with the demands of parenting. Raising children is no joke. And I'll tell you what, raising a puppy is no joke.
No motherfucking joke right there.
Mr. Weedman's feeling it. Ooh. He's been doing the nighttime wake-ups.
Been doing a lot of the wake-ups.
Hey. I do the first morning wake-up.
You do. Thank you.
And I watch her during the day.
You do. Thank you.
Yeah. We're co-parenting the puppy. Co-parenting. She's a handful. She's wild. She's so, really good. She's really good.
Well, everybody got to meet her at the party.
Yeah.
And she was fucking awesome at the party.
She's a good dog.
She's good. She just has her moments, just like a 2-year-old. She's only 12 weeks today. But she's like a 2-year-old. She's got to be busy.
Mm-hmm. Well, the extreme pressure parents face to put food on the table, raise socially and morally responsible citizens, make their ends meet, while having to take care of a career, only names a few of the struggles parents actually experience. It can be so hard at times that parents can get lost in their roles, often forgetting to take care of themselves and their relationships with their spouses. And this can cause desperation, leading to substance abuse and other bad habits. Using cannabis regularly has become the secret of many successful parents who have found that it's a safe and healthy way to cope with the demands of parenting, which can easily take 18 years of your life until one child is off to college. While there are still many people who are against parents using cannabis, one cannot deny its multitude of benefits.
Hold on real quick. So let me say something. Are they okay with the parents drinking at night, having a couple beers? And
That's
saying,
not what this article.
I know, but they're saying that they're not okay with parents smoking.
Who's
right?
saying?
It does say in the article. Or did I miss?
I think you missed something.
I misheard it. They're okay with parents smoking weed.
Using cannabis regularly has become a secret of success for many parents.
Okay.
Who have found it as a safe and healthy way to cope with the demands of parenting.
Okay.
While there are still many parents who are against
Yes.
right.
But I'm saying is those parents drinking?
Right.
Do they drink?
Or even
or have some alcohol?
We do that parallel a lot of like alcohol versus cannabis, but even
all I'm saying is this:
just being a bad parent.
All I'm
whether
saying
you're
is,
under no influence,
true.
You could just be a shitty parent.
Yes, there's shitty parents that don't do either.
Right?
100%. All I'm saying is though, if a parent has a couple drinks at the end of their day and they have a kid at home or whatever, and it helps, they put the kids to bed and they want to have a beer or a glass of wine or a bourbon on the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't
right? So if that same parent criticized a parent for smoking weed in the evening, right? But that's the stigma that we are trying to stomp. Because there are parallels in that example, but cannabis can be used more therapeutically than alcohol.
100%.
Yes. So let's get on with this. What does the study say? In fact, a recent study out of Oxford has revealed that the presence of adult use cannabis laws has been linked with a decrease in foster care admissions. The study, conducted by economists at the University of Mississippi, analyzed patterns in foster care admission among states before and after adult use cannabis was legalized. Their findings? Our most conservative estimates imply that legalization causes at least a 10% decrease in total admissions into foster care due to specific child welfare concerns, reads the study. Legalization may impact foster care admissions directly by changing the welfare of children or indirectly by changing policies and attitudes towards cannabis use in the home. Direct effects may arise because cannabis use itself causes behaviors that affect child welfare, or because it changes the likelihood of using other drugs, said the authors. We also find that placements due to physical abuse, parental neglect, and parental incarceration decrease after legalization, providing evidence that legalization reduces substantive threats to child welfare, although the precise mechanism behind these effects is unclear, they add. Another study from 2019 involving 32 adult medical cannabis patients who participated in a focus group discussion shed some insight as to why parents medicate. The study's authors sought to better understand how the use of cannabis impacts parenting. 6 out of 11 parent participants said that cannabis use helped them be calmer, making it easier for them to manage difficult emotions that arise with parenting. However, it was also interesting that some noted they didn't want their kids to use cannabis. But more importantly, I think that's just our innate opinion, it's like our creature of habit kind of response is that cannabis is bad. And yes, studies show that cannabis shouldn't be used until your brain is done developing, and
so
unless
like
you needed it for like
cancer.
If you need it medicinally, obviously you're taking other medications. You're going to take what you need to take to feel good. But if you're using it, for anxiety and more mild behavior kind of help, you might want to wait until your brain is done developing. Anyway. More importantly, the study's findings revealed that medical cannabis patients who are parents can indeed benefit from alternative ways to cope with stress with the stress caused by parenting. There's also adequate anecdotal evidence from parents that it does indeed calm them down and help them become better parents without the harmful and potentially dangerous side effects of other coping mechanisms such as alcohol and hard drugs, which can increase the chances of domestic violence. So how can cannabis help parents? Well, stress, number one, from sleepless nights caring for infants and toddlers to the general frustration of raising young ones and the endless list of daily tasks in between, parenting is perhaps the most stressful job in the world. Parenting is extremely overwhelming, and the longer parents cope with the stress alone, the more this can lead to depression, anxiety, sleep disorders, and physical ailments rooted in inflammation and muscle tension. Cannabis has been proven in numerous studies, time and again, as an effective treatment for stress and anxiety. It also should be stated that chronic exposure to stress can change a person, and when you want to be the best for your kid, cannabis can help you get yourself back to being your best. Anger management. Any parent can tell you that raising children can often come with numerous infuriating episodes. Explosive outbursts can easily ruin the trust you have with your kid, and it also can deteriorate the relationship that you have with your spouse. Research shows that cannabis can be a good antidote to anger. It's also a much better way to cope with anger than alcohol. Cannabis contains vital cannabinoids that can help stabilize mood disorders, which can help spell the difference between a good and a bad day for you and your family. Sleep. From the moment you become a parent, you can say goodbye to peaceful hours of sleep. When your child grows up, there will also be inevitable periods driving you to sleeplessness because of certain issues. It could be your kid's health, school, making ends meet, difficult in-laws, and so much more. No matter what's driving you to lose sleep, cannabis is there for you. A few puffs of a quality indica does a better job of ensuring you get good shut-eye. Lack of sleep can also cause mood disorders, so getting 8 hours of restful sleep can make a big difference in ensuring that you are prepared to tackle the challenges ahead. These days, parents have so many options when it comes to medicating discreetly. There's vapes, gels, capsules, tinctures, beverages, and edibles, all of which make calming down after a stressful day effective, but also easier than ever. If you're the type of person who doesn't want to get high, that's fine. You can microdose by taking tiny puffs of your vape or consuming edibles that have been infused with low doses of THC, which has been shown in studies to be beneficial for treating stress, whereas a high THC strain may make stress worse. Cannabidiol, CBD, the non-psychoactive compound in the cannabis plant, is also very powerful in inducing calmness and relaxation. CBD products are widely available in legal states, and for parents struggling with anger, frustration, and high levels of stress, CBD may be the best route for you.
There you go.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Wish all this was available back then.
I know, right?
Would have been great.
Would have been.
I mean, I smoked my one all the time, but I mean, coming home from work in my car.
I think I would have loved it. Like when the kids were in bed and then you're doing laundry and cleaning up the house.
You've been zoning.
Yeah.
I was relaxed.
Yeah. And
then,
zonk out.
International news, a call for legalization in Tanzanians have this shitty-ass law with a group called for the creation of National Cannabis Bureau. The group's calling itself Badal said the law criminalizing the consumption of this plant, which has been known in Tanzania as Law Number 52, is destroying the future of many in this country. Well, hopefully Tanzania can turn it around. Majority of Europeans support cannabis legalization, new international poll finds. Damn. What else here? We got international news. Spanish police take down Europe's biggest cannabis farm. 415,000 hemp plants worth about $108 million in operation to dismantle, the police said on Wednesday. Last Wednesday was Europe's biggest cannabis plantation. Around 50 tons. Damn. Crazy. Of dried cannabis in a processing center. But it was only CBD. I mean, come on. Psh. Whatever. That's lame. Mayhem erupts at Melbourne cannabis rally as police haul off patients. The annual 420 rally and community picnic at Flagstaff Gardens in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, ended in disaster on April 20th when law enforcement sabotaged the event and hauled peaceful patients off while ignoring the medical cannabis law. The Australian Parliament amended the Narcotics Drug Act in 2016 to allow medical cannabis. In Victoria, doctors and nurses practitioners can prescribe medical cannabis, but certain products need approval from the Commonwealth Therapeutic Good Administration, TGA. The 420 events there today are a mix of celebration and call to action. Jason, a.k.a. H&J, organizes the 420 Rally Community Picnic each year. H&J says that didn't deter police from arresting people smoking peacefully at the rally. A pre-planned assault on some of Victoria's most vulnerable members of the community. The police intimidated and legally searched just about everyone passing through the park, including a cancer patient recovering from a recent brain surgery, H&J told High Times. I was approached by an elderly gentleman who had been stripped and searched in plain view of everyone despite not having the cannabis or illicit substance. The humiliation he felt was visible and the tear rolling from the corner of his eye. H&J is a drug reform advocate, host of H&J's Agro Nights, and has used cannabis for medical purposes for over 30 years. A Victoria police spokesman said that they were on the site in Flagstaff Gardens on Wednesday for the protest and that the man was released later, but after being arrested, handcuffed, and hauled away. It's not the kind of freedom advocates envision, but the legalized medical cannabis in the state. A blogger from platform Melbourne 2 was at the rally and decided to record and post it on YouTube, considering the nature of the event, a DJ playing music in the background. Police aggression can be painfully seen on the video, and commentators called the police uniformed thugs, cowards, and other names. Part of the problem is accessibility for medical cannabis. Despite the legality and availability of prescription cannabis that presents laws create a situation that allows patients' rights to be ignored, Ancient J said. The action of police signals that they were not observing the state recently implemented medical cannabis law. The aggressive approach by police towards the 420 rally indicates a total lack of understanding or empathy towards these vulnerable members of the community and intimidation-focused approach towards law and reform campaigners. Around half Australians say that cannabis should be legalized. According to a survey in 2019, 41.1% of Australians believe cannabis should be legalized in the country, a significant jump in approval ratings compared to 2013 when they were asked the same question. An online survey conducted by polling company Essential Research between March 30th and April 2nd of 2022. 50% of respondents said they were in favor of full cannabis reform. Man, police, man, screwing that up, because that probably was a great rally, too, for medical cannabis in Australia. Last wedding we were at was in Florida, right?
That's right.
Tell us this fucking story. This is crazy.
This one's pretty funny. A Florida wedding turns chaotic after food is allegedly laced with cannabis by none other than the bride and her caterer. Guests were not feeling the love at a Florida wedding that descended into chaos and resulted in felony charges against the bride and caterer for allegedly lacing the food with cannabis. That wasn't very smart. Attendees at the reception for Dania and Andrew Svoboda's wedding on February 19th in Longwood, Florida, told police that they had vomited and felt unsteady and paranoid after eating, while other guests went to the hospital from the effects of cannabis-laced food, according to authorities. I feel like there's some kind of drug in me or something. One guest called in a 911 call released by police, and I don't know what's happening to me. Dania Svoboda, 42, and caterer Jocelyn Bryant, 31. So I think it's the bride and groom. Was she the caterer? Anyway, Dania and Jocelyn have been charged with felony violation of an anti-tampering law and delivery of cannabis, as well as a misdemeanor culpable negligence charge, according to the Seminole County Sheriff's Department and court records. On a side note, Florida is only medically legal, so not only did she unknowingly distribute cannabis to people in their food, it's also illegal. So kind of a double whammy. I mean, in a recreationally legal state, I don't know that the charges would have been so serious. But anyway, NBC News reached out to Svoboda and Bryant, and they have not yet received a response. Seminole County deputies were called to the scene after the reception of about 50 people when it went off the rails once food was served, police said. Investigators said the food, including the lasagna, was tested and found to contain THC, the psychoactive compound in marijuana.
You gotta tell people.
I know, right?
You gotta fucking
And to
tell
put it in
people.
like all the food, so
That's
God only
fucked
knows.
up.
I mean, people were having tons. We just talked about dosing, right? Yeah, they had no idea. Body cam footage released by the Seminole County Sheriff's Office shows guests telling the police that they felt sick. "We've all been affected," one guest said. "Something was put in our food." One guest complained of feeling high when speaking with a deputy. Some requested to be taken to the hospital, and another guest said he was taking an Uber to the hospital because he was feeling ill and high, according to the arrest affidavit. Those guests reported eating meatballs, bread, olive oil, and Caesar salad at the wedding.
This sounds like my kind of party. Though. Sorry
If you
for
knew,
everybody else
if
that
you
got
knew,
fucked up,
yeah.
but this is my kind of party.
If you knew, could you imagine? Like you don't even know what's going on, and if you
100%.
never smoked before, oh my gosh. Guest Nancy Postma told police she felt very paranoid to the point she thought her son-in-law had died, and her family didn't tell her, according to the affidavit. She added that she had been given something to calm her down in the emergency room after being taken to the hospital because she became loud and unruly. Wedding guest Miranda Cady told police she saw Bryant reach into the punch bowl, remove a green and fuzzy substance, and then put it on a small dish prior to olive oil being added to the dish, according to the affidavit. Katie told police she asked Bryant if there was marijuana in the food, and Bryant giggled and shook her head yes. Katie said she then went to the dance floor to ask Danya Svoboda if the food was laced, and she said yes and acted like Katie should be excited as if she was given a gift, according to the affidavit. Katie spoke with an NBC News correspondent on the Today Show about the fiasco. I think people just want an explanation, Katie said. You have to respect other people's free will and boundaries, and they should have had a choice in doing something like that. Multiple guests tested positive for THC at the hospital, according to police. If convicted, the bride and caterer could each face up to 5 years in prison, plus a $5,000 fine, said the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. Dumb move.
Damn.
Dumb move.
You should have had one table that said, this is infused with THC.
Yeah.
The other table, this is regular food for the rest.
Yeah.
And just let people make their own decision.
Right.
Now you're fucked. Oh, my God. That's stupid. And we talked about this before the show. We started doing the show. We were talking about going through all the articles, and I just said, in all the years we've made edibles or I've given something to people, I've never not said there was. I always told people, hey, this has cannabis in it.
Right.
This has weed in it. Well, if you gave it to somebody something and didn't tell them, you're fucked. That's fucked up.
That's not right.
Not right at all.
Yeah.
That you're fucking somebody. And then you're fucking their experience with cannabis too. But you're also fucking yourself. So, I mean, don't do that shit. Fucking so stupid. Bad move. On 420, a truck accident leaves 500 pounds of weed scattered across a Missouri highway. Huh. Illegally. So, driving it through the state. Even though it's, Missouri's medical, trying to hopefully go recreational there soon too, but you still can't be driving 500 pounds of weed through the state. So bad move on 420. You got arrested on 420. It sucks. So, man, Mrs. Weedman, that's the end of the show.
That was fast.
That wasn't fast. An hour. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good show, everybody out there in the world of weed and smoking big fat doinks out there. And I want to thank everybody again who came out to the 8 Decades launch party. We appreciate it. People that came from all over the place, too. We appreciate you coming out. Mrs. Weedman, you got anything else to say?
I got nothing.
Nothing?
Nope.
Hey, everybody. Don't forget, man. Show some love out in the world. Share some doinks. Give somebody an edible that needs it. Help somebody out. Lift somebody up. Be kind to everybody. And don't forget to check us out on our new website, www.8decades.com. Eventually, it'll just be 8decades.com, but we're fixing shit. So, but www.8decades.com, you'll be able to find all of our social media handles on there now. You'll be able to see what Mr. and Mrs. Weedman have done. Pretty cool, pretty great. Reach out to us, email us, DM us, say hello to us. We're always here. We love you all out there. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.